Welcome to the Reality After Show. We are back with more anonymous coverage. We are covering episodes 3 and 4 today. I am one of your hosts, Lauren Pratt, along with me, Adrian Roberts. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? I'm excited to get into this episode. 3 was a great setup, and 4 was an entire like explosion that happened. So we got a lot to talk about, and I'm excited to get started. So
Right
yeah, let's
on.
do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, episode 3, bit of a slower burn compared to what episode 4 became because they just threw everything that they could possibly at us.
Mm. Oh yeah, no, I feel like it was like a chef salad of different ingredients that all came into one episode, and it was a little overwhelming to start, but I think that it ended up tying in a nice bow by the end. Similar to how this game has been running from the get go, it just feels like it's much more complicated than it ends up being. You know,
I
I
know,
guess.
so let's hit it.
Yeah, I'll say let's hit it. Let's hit it with episode 3, where we have like a little bit of we're gonna blaze right through episode 3, and then we're gonna spend all the time on episode 4. It's gonna be a nutcase. So the way we ended off with episode 2 was that Marcel and Casey were the last two that were left standing for who was up for elimination, and we left on that cliffhanger, right? Then we come back in episode 3, and we find out that Marcel is safe. Casey is eliminated. I liked Casey. I really did. I thought she had a lot of potential. It's extremely unfortunate that she went out so early, and it seemed like it was such a random choice too. Like Jack ended up being revealed as he was the anonymous, and he was the one who had to make the decision. But Casey only had one vote in episode 2 to put her up for elimination. So there wasn't like a coalition going against her or anything like that. It was like almost like by chance. It was like, and it really put everybody spooked in the house. Because people were like, "Wow, I get one vote, I get put on the block, and I'm out." Whoa, that raises the stakes a lot for a lot of people. People start ringing their head. People start ringing their bells. You know, people are getting rattled a little bit. I mean, how do you feel about Casey's game and where she ended up?
Well, as you said, like that's why the one vote is such a game changer in the anonymous, because normally you don't see that. As you said, it's a group of people can all potentially gang up on somebody, or there's split votes, or everyone's all over the place. But now you feel as though I have a chance to save myself because my one vote does matter, because I could become the anonymous and get the choice of who is going to be then leaving the game. For me, I didn't see Casey as a threat, but everyone has different opinions on who they think the handles are. And that's what people account for, because they see someone's handle and they go, "Oh, I think that might go with that person. Want to get rid of them because this handle is dangerous."
Yeah. Then getting into that is that when Casey reveals afterwards that she was Shark, there was a lot of shocks. There was a little bit like, "Oh, really?" Like a lot of people were a little bit taken aback by that. And there was a lot of speculation about dice and all that stuff too, going around and hovering that around Casey and whatnot. But when it finally revealed that she was Shark and that dice was still going to be in the game, it was like, whoa, hey, we gotta rethink this a little bit. And people, and like I said before, people were just starting to get a little bit more spooked. You know, it's a complex game, and such small moves can have such big repercussions. You know, either immediate or further down the line.
Right, because what someone says when they are chatting, it flips on a dime. You see people go, "Oh, whoa, wait a second. Now I'm either jumping on this train or I have to divert," because you can't say anything when they're coming after you. You have to wait for somebody else to chime in and do something, because otherwise they're thinking you're just there defending yourself, and then they know exactly what handle you are.
And 100%. I love the complexity of the game, especially in the anonymous room. I think that it's a very well designed product from a game design standpoint. It's beautiful. But yeah, so fast forwarding a little bit, we're getting into Jack is trying to paint Marcel as the anonymous. You know, people are starting to divert off of themselves because Jack has been the anonymous twice now. Jack's been playing a great game
Mhm.
in targeting Andy during the anonymous sessions. It's playing out like clockwork for him. He's pretty much got everybody the game in the palm of his hands right now. Nobody has any idea who he is. So he's trying to paint. He's like, well, like everybody wanted to get out Marcel, so he must have been the anonymous that got Casey out, because otherwise it would have been Marcel, right? And a lot of people
Right.
about that.
I think Jack's playing an awesome game. The only thing we talked about this last time on the podcast, my concern is it's going to catch up to him potentially just because of how great he is outside of the gate. Because you even see here a little bit too. We see it in the episode where he is talking to a group of people and they go, well, I thought this person was Dice. And
Mhm.
so then he has to take a step back and say, oh, I gotta rework what I'm saying, because some people aren't completely on board, but they are listening to what Jack's saying. Jack is very persuasive, easy to talk to. Someone always is wanting to align with Jack. You just see that he's a favorite in the house amongst
Mhm.
everybody.
Yeah, Jack understands the game, I think, better than just about everybody except for maybe Xavier at this point. Xavier and Jack are like two titans that are playing amongst a bunch of mere pawns right now. People are catching up, but I think that they hit the ground running. Having said, people who are trying to change it up, Marcel realizes that he's been on the chopping block, etc. He feels that he needs to start connecting with people more, being a little bit more open, and being a little bit more sincere. He's trying to change his game because he realizes that he's been in a bad spot. He wants to let people get to know Marcel for who Marcel is and not just view him as like, oh, he's a professional video gamer.
Yes. And what we have to remember too, how quick this game is. And as we said, you have people that don't have the big, huge personality, so it's hard for them to connect earlier on. Once they have those times, those one-on-one conversations, more of them, they will be given an opportunity. Okay, this person now feels a lot better with me because they know me better. You have Dylan in the house. Dylan is going to be up here. Love Dylan, by the way. Always up here. The personality, the best personality in the house. Absolutely great television. I'm loving it. However, Dylan has that factor of can jump right in, talk to somebody immediately, is not shy. And then you have someone such as Lily that we saw in the first two episodes, really, really shy, doesn't really find her footing. And I think maybe is starting to find it a little bit because we do see she's not necessarily jumping ahead at 4 a little bit. She's not on the chopping block there. She's doing something right because she was previously a bunch.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Lily has sort of like started off with a rocky start and has really been able to adapt herself to, lay a little bit lower and let some of the bigger, personalities or bigger threats start coming to play. Because usually with these social deductive games and where people are voting, et cetera, you usually see people going for like the oddballs in the beginning, but after a vote or two, depending on which game it is, they start focusing less on that and they start focusing more on who the stronger players are. And then it'll probably come back to where like the weaker players, or maybe not necessarily weaker players, but the more less strong personalities will start to overstay their welcome, or quite possibly put themselves into a bad position if they don't adjust their games. But Lily seems to be doing that fairly well at this point. So we get into the next scene where Chris, Xavier, and Robbie are talking. Chris says it was very intentional to save Marcel. Xavier agrees with him, and Chris starts seeing Tyrina as the most likely candidate to be the anonymous. Xavier thinks that those three, Robbie, Chris, and Xavier, might be good for them to start working together. So we're starting to see the formations of alliances or voting blocks or whatever. And then Chris just kind of comes out with it that he thinks that Dice is Tyrina, which Dice is like at this point like public enemy number one to everybody. So Chris is painting Tyrina as that, and that's extremely unfortunate for Tyrina at this point. She hasn't really ruffled any feathers or anything like that, but I think that that's what's painting the target on her.
was not playing a bad game. I thought her handle was excellent, what she chose for herself. I thought everything that she was doing, it's just sometimes when people put that in your ear,
Mhm.
everyone runs with it because it's not your name, it's somebody else's name, and sometimes you just can't recover. And I think that's what Tyrina ran into, especially in this episode. It's just all of a sudden hit the ground running and she couldn't change people's minds because I even she was stunned. She's saying, "Wait, why me? I'm just trying to vibe with everybody. I'm not sticking my neck out doing anything crazy or outrageous, and you have all these other bigger personalities." She was someone that I thought was going to be able to blend much better, and I saw her as very smart too. So I was thinking in my mind she's going to go pretty far in this game, and then, you know, that's what we got where Christopher just put out the name and everyone followed.
Yeah, no, Chris put out the name, everybody followed, and Xavier decided to form this coalition of 5 people. So now we have a coalition of 5 that it consists of the 3, Chris, Xavier, Robbie, and now they're pulling in Jack and Nina into that fold. So Xavier is gathering his troops, pretty much the people that he thinks that he can trust, and it's unfortunate that Tyrina is not a part of that. And it doesn't seem like there's a real counter coalition being built on the other side of that. Very, very reminiscent of the first season of most of these games, where one side starts to play and the other side has to play catch up. And sometimes it's a little too late. So they gather their troops and they go to bed. All right. The next morning, Jack thinks that Nita looks a lot like Sandra from Survivor. He says that in confessional. Now, that doesn't play out a whole lot in this episode, but this is the first time that it gets mentioned. And that's something that's going to play out in episode 4 a little bit more. And this is a story arc that I think we're going to see for a couple of episodes.
Yeah, and we brought that up too when we talked about on the last podcast. We said if you are recognized, it could play very, very poorly, or it could be great because some people either want to work with you or they don't want to work with you. It's what do? You kind of have to read the situation. We said Xavier right away told people, and I think Nina, it's different for her because Australian Survivor is not a US game. And so she probably thought in her mind, okay, if I can kind of keep myself a little under the radar, not really bring anything up, I should be okay. However, Jack, I don't even know necessarily recognized her from Australian Survivor. He just says she looks like Sandra. So I don't even know if they specifically know she is Australian Survivor player.
Yeah, no, and I think at this point that they're just suspecting that she could be Sandra, the legend, the Queen Stays Queen, her daughter, and that's the only suspicions that are had only by Jack at this point. So, like I said, that's going to play out a little bit further down the road, I think. Going into the next morning as well, Chris, Andy, and Jack are talking outside, and Andy states that Tyrina sent home Casey. He just comes flat out with it. Unfortunate for Tyrina, it just seems like everybody's just starting to pile onto the Tyrina train. Chris then states that Tyrina is Dice and Tyrina is protecting Lily. Chris just has this vendetta to get out Lily at this point. Do you know why that is?
I think most of the time we don't really know what Chris is thinking unless Chris is trying to go for one of the ladies in the house. That's the only mindset I can see with Chris. But I think this is a game where you can be random. And I think a lot of Chris's game is super random, and that's fine because it works for him. I think there's not too much strategic going on, but it could be. I'm not seeing it right now. Right now I'm seeing Christopher just, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm saying to people, and I'm not changing my mind, which is fine. And you can play the game that way. Everyone's playing it differently. He's fun to watch. It doesn't I love having him there because he's great television.
Total emotional player. You're never going to accuse of Chris of being too analytical for the situation. He's a guy that goes with his gut, that goes with his feelings, leads with his heart, and I appreciate that in a human being. I just don't know how that's going to play out in a social deduction game like this. But I guess we'll find out. Time will tell. So then they don't do a challenge, right? They go right into anonymous mode, and I was like, I was like, okay, the format of the show is changing already. But yeah, no, they skip a challenge and they go right into anonymous mode. And Dice Robbie immediately starts the thing by saying, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to be quiet. And that lasted about 5 seconds. Alien Dylan Snark said, he says that Dice talks too much. And Dice Robbie, you should have been quiet. You should have been quiet. But you felt like you needed to say something. Dice Robbie comes back with, "Stop your talking. You have nothing to say." And so gloves are starting to come off in the anonymous room. People are just starting to like the degree of anonymity that it gives to empower people. It's just fascinating to watch. It's just amazing to see what people are so bold or emboldened to say when they know that it's not going to trace back to them. It's actually a really cool social experiment.
Fantastic. And Andy's facial expression all the time, I love that man so much. It's hilarious because he sometimes is like, how am I still even here? Which I think is even funnier because that's what some of us are thinking at home watching. But it fits. It works. He's someone that might be able to slide in if they let him ride out too far in the game because they're saying not helping us win the pot. But if he keeps coasting through, maybe Andy pulls out something, and that would be hysterical for the first season. I would find it fantastic. I don't think it will happen.
Money to make Andy win this game. It would be amazing. It would be phenomenal storytelling. It would be just like a poetic justice for everybody come in and all these like shots are firing everywhere, and then Andy just kind of just like, what is going on in this world? And then everyone like the OK Corral, everybody's like dead around him, and he's just standing there like, I guess I win. And I would love it.
Oh, it would be so brilliant. The thing is, too, we talked about this as well. I love this cast. This is probably the best cast they pretty much could put together for the first opening season because it's getting people interested in watching. People are enjoying it. The characters alone, not even talking the gameplay, the characters spot on, and the gameplay so far has been really fun to watch. So I'm just excited to see what they have moving forward because they're giving us twists. They're giving us almost everything that you could ask for. It's not predictable. And that's what I love about a show because everything is changing. So us as a viewer, we don't even know what's going to happen. It comes out of left field. And then we just have to readapt how we're watching, how we're analyzing the show and what people are doing.
See, I have another opinion on that one because I think that the players should know what the rules of the game are set forward prior to things being implemented on a whim. And we'll get a little bit more into that in episode 4 because it feels like it jeopardizes the integrity of the game a little bit, in my opinion. Okay. I don't like production being able to make decisions during the game to change it based on entertainment, which is what I feel like is what they're kind of teetering on, which makes me worried a little bit. But I'm confident that they won't go off the rails with it too much. But we'll get a little bit more into that when we get there.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
So where are we on my notes? I got all over the place. So Chris is still focusing on Nina and Lily. Andy is like, wow, you're beginning to sound a little bit more like Tyrina when talking about Dice. Robbie wants everyone to think that Dice is Tyrina, so she starts talking as if she is Tyrina. And we'll see how that plays out by the end of this episode as well. What Football Jack comes in and he's like, okay, fine, let's get out Tyrina, but tomorrow we got to get back to Andy. And Andy's like, what the hell? It's like Andy thinks that everything is going to be fine, and then it just no, football still hates you. What my question is, and we haven't seen this play out yet, and I'm really hoping that we will Andy ever find out that football was Jack? And I really want that to happen on the show. And I don't know if it's going to now.
I don't think so. So what I guess is going to happen is they're going to reveal what their second handle was, and we won't see the first handle. What I do hope, because I think it would make it super interesting for them to release both handles, but now they can't really do that because we have new people on the show. So I think that just is scrapped, which is disappointing because it would make a lot of sense and help potentially put other puzzle pieces together saying this person was this handle and that handle. Okay, were there similarities? Were there differences? Because we know some of the people plan to be different with their second handle. They learned from the first handle, this wasn't really working for me, so I'm going to try something else. Or some people just said, I'm going to keep as is and keep talking as is.
Yeah, we definitely see an evolution of how people are playing the game based on what they've learned, and that's part of the reason that I do have some faith in production with some of the decisions that they're making with the twists going into episode 4, with the handle change. But it's I'm really hesitant with the other parts of that change. And like I said, we'll get to that. So Tyrena, Lily, Marcel, Chris, and Andy are at risk. So we have 5 people at risk right now. But this episode changed up the order of the challenges. So now we have a challenge coming up that's going to be to pull yourself off of the block, which is the first time we're seeing something like this. Usually you got immunity before you were put on the block. This time you can actually pull yourself off. So this is only a challenge for the 5 people that are on the block currently. And this, I think this is a great game. I think it's a phenomenal game. This is a great microcosm of the game that's being played because it involves deception. I think it was phenomenally designed. So the way that it works is that there are 5 boxes in the center of the, let's call it an arena. One at a time, each of the players gets to choose one of the boxes, look inside, and see that it will either say at risk or safe, if I am not mistaken.
Right. Yep.
And there is one box that says safe, and the other 4 boxes say at risk. So when you look at your box, it works very similar to something called a white elephant, which is like a gift exchange. Yeah. So after you look in your box, the next person that goes can choose to either take the box that you had just picked or go for a new box. So Marcel goes first. He picks his box out. He peeks into his box. He sees whatever, it doesn't show us what it says. And Andy just looks at it and goes, "What do you got?" And Marcel's like, "I'm safe." It seems to be like there was a little bit of a smirk that came from Marcel. There was like a micro expression there, but no giveaway or anything like that. It seems like he's just trying to play the game. Tyrena asks him, "How do you feel?" And I feel good. Very matter of fact. Andy sees that Marcel's foot is shaking vigorously, though, so he believes that that's a tell. Why is Marcel nervous? And we find out later why Marcel is nervous, but so Marcel goes, and it's Andy's turn. Do you have any comments about Marcel at that point?
So here's the thing. I love the challenge. Really enjoyed it. I just wish that the person that went first didn't actually get the safety first. And obviously it's super random because I just wanted to see some stealing. This is where I had the problem. Where's the stealing? I love it. And the thing is, if you have any, in your mind, hesitation or theory or thought, which Andy did, I don't know why Andy doesn't take the box. I don't know why he doesn't. I feel like he should have. But I think everyone was skeptical. And the problem is they're skeptical because it was the very first box chosen. So the odds of you getting the safe, being the one taking that first box, is a lot slimmer than everyone else's. And so you have to have that running through your mind. Do I take it? Do I not? I think had someone said, he said, not safe, I think someone does maybe take it because you go back and forth with trying to trick people out. If you say safe, well, yeah, you're telling the truth, but you're trying to psych them out. So it's a really complicated game to play. I think if Andy got the safe box, that box is getting taken. It
Oh
just
yeah.
depends on the person. It depends on the person. If Andy has that box, the box is gone.
Well, you have to think of it from like a political standpoint when you're going into that game as well, because the neutral thing to do is to pick a box from the center and not take somebody else's box. Think of the vendetta that someone would have towards, like, let's say Marcel. Let's say Andy took Marcel's box and he was correct. Then, like, Marcel's going to have a certain feeling towards Andy at that point. And when people see that Andy was correct in assessing Marcel's integrity when he said what was in the box, people will start thinking, "Huh, Andy's pretty intuitive when it comes to people." So that could also paint a target on Andy's back. So if you're not sure, like 100% sure, it's very difficult to make that aggressive act to another player and quite possibly messing up their game, especially if it was the first person, because the first person is still a 1 in 5 shot. Granted, it's a 1 in 5 shot at all times, but to take an aggressive stance and a chance like that with an aggressive act on another player, I think it's the wrong move.
Just wanted to see it just for TV purposes too. But honestly, it's one of those situations you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because you want that safety. If you know that there's that small chance of you going home, I think some people do go for it. However, I believe someone such as Tyrena didn't think that there was a chance. That's probably, I'm thinking if I'm Tyrena, all right, someone just randomly threw a vote on me just so another name was out there, but I should be fine. Whereas other people have seen their name come up multiple times, such as a Lily, they want that safety. So I think it just depended on who the people were and who was in the game.
That's fair. That's fair. I can get on board with that. So Andy picks his box. He has a little smirk after looking. I noticed that too. They start grilling Andy, some laughs. Nothing crazy there. Tyrena picks a new box. She doesn't choose to take Andy or Marcel's. She takes a look. She has a stone cold expression on her face as well. Very good poker face, not giving anything away. Lily also picks a new box. And then Chris also chooses not to steal. So just like you said before, there was no exchanging of boxes or anything like that. Everyone just took what they got. Yeah, unfortunately, it leaves us with Andy at risk still, but also paired with Lily and Chris. Tyrena is at risk as well, and Marcel is safe. So Marcel did great. It was a great performance in that challenge from him. So that leaves us with Lily, Andy, Chris, and Tyrena as the 4 people that could possibly go home.
Into that, who did you think was going to get eliminated before obviously they go back into the handles and everything?
So at this episode, like I thought it was going to be Marcel initially. I was very surprised when he actually won the safety, and then I was like, you know what, maybe it'll be Lily. I think Andy is. I will never vote against Andy, no matter what happens. I love that man and everything that he does. But yeah, no, I quite possibly Lily would have gone home. That would have been my prediction at that point. And Lily felt the same way, actually.
Yes, she thought she was toast. She 100% is like, I'm done. Like it's over.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Chris responds to her because she's talking with Andy and Chris poolside. And Chris says it all depends on who the alliance is. And everybody kind of like does a double take. What?
Dangerous to have in your alliance. You can playing with someone like that has got to be so frustrating because I would be baffled, be like, nope, this is not going to work. I can't do it. Because I do like a little bit of the chaos. I do like that as a viewer, but as a player, no, thank you.
No, Absolutely not. I don't want anybody leaking stuff like that. I mean, he's having like diarrhea of the mouth right there. I mean, he tries to recover from it. He's just like, oh no, not the Alliance. I meant the Anonymous. You know, and it was like, okay, there are two words that begin with the letter A. Okay, good job there. So to my recollection, I don't remember any kind of repercussions from that or anything. Not immediate.
No, he's
Yeah,
another one where I
nobody
think
picks
people
up
are
on it.
just, he's
Yeah.
there. It's fine. Chris is here to stay for a little bit. We'll see what happens.
Uh, so a note that I made, and I have to make a comment on this. Dylan is wearing the best neon pink outfit I have ever seen in this scene. I absolutely adore that man's wardrobe. I want to swap recipes. Like it's incredible. He's got impeccable style sense, and I love it. So excuse me. Chris, Xavier, Lily, and Tyrina are all chatting at this point as well. Tyrina wants to play up that she is Dice as much as possible, and that's that's her play to try to become the Anonymous, to try to stay in the game. I think it's a good play. I think it's a solid play.
Bad.
Yeah, no,
I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's just because you want to throw people off because she knows that she's not Dice, so she's going to get the answer correct, and she wants all of them to get it wrong. I think it's a great strategy. It just didn't work, and that's okay. You have to try something. At least she was playing the game. That I can appreciate. I can appreciate someone attempting the game and trying.
Yeah, like initially the way the show had framed it, I thought that because Robbie was trying to big brain it and say like I want everyone to think that Tyrina is Dice, and I thought Tyrina was going to be able to steer into that curve and be able to like snatch the Anonymous out from under her, and that's unfortunately not what happened. But I thought that she did the best that she could, trying to play that part. I think it was a solid play. It just didn't play out the way that she was hoping. So moving on to next, we have the Anonymous test. Robbie thinks that Andy is Butterfly. Like some people have some suspicions. Nina thinks that Pizza is Lily, which that was like that came out of nowhere. Like Pizza is Lily, really? Like you're picking up on that because Pizza hasn't really talked a whole lot in the first couple Anonymous rooms. So
maybe that's why. Because Lily doesn't talk as much in the house, so maybe that's why Nina says, okay, they're not really saying anything. Maybe that's who it could be. Nina's also a really good player in this game as well. I think she's doing completely fine. She's one of the front runners for me as well. I just think she is going to run into a potential target becoming a big threat. And we see that in episode 4, where a lot of the bigger players, bigger threats are up for elimination.
Yeah, no, it seems like the overall meta strategy right now is shifting at episode 4 in particular, especially with all the twists and turns that are happening. People are starting to think more strategically and targeting the bigger fish. Which I mean, that's inevitable. That's going to happen eventually, and then there's going to be like a scuffle in the next like 2 or 3 episodes, and then there's going to be a power hierarchy that's going to show up. It could be the 5 alliance that we talked about earlier with Xavier's people, but there's going to be some sort of hierarchy, and we're going to lose some big players soon, I think. All right, so it ends up being that Andy, Chris, Tyrina, and Lily are at risk, and the Anonymous is either Tyrina or Xavier. And then episode 3, credits roll.
Credits roll. They always leave us on the cliffhanger. That is going to be the trend. I am going through all the rest of these episodes, not knowing that I'm not going to get the result, and I have to wait.
Yeah, no, and I'm a very impatient person. I just don't have the mental fortitude to deal with this. But you know, we gotta stick it out. We gotta troop it, and we had to wait a week for episode 4. But yeah, no. Any final thoughts on episode 3 before we move on?
I'll obviously plug this at the end of the podcast, but I'll plug it now since this was basically Tyrina's episode. Tyrina will be joining both of us on Friday at 3:15 Eastern time to chat with us a little bit about the Anonymous. We're super excited. We anticipate getting a decent amount of the cast on this podcast, and just be on the lookout for that. I'll set up the link and everything, and definitely join us for Tyrena because she's very excited to come on.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be able to talk to her. She was interesting to watch on the show. She seemed like she had a great take on the game. I'd love to be able to pick her brain for a half hour and just get an idea of kind of like the idiosyncrasies of her gameplay and what she chose and why she did what she did, and why she thinks that she may have faltered. But yeah, no, I'm super stoked on that. So coming into episode 4, we start with the results. And like I was saying before, I'll recap this. Tyrena or Xavier is the Anonymous. Andy, Chris, Tyrena, and Lily are at risk. Wildly. And I did not see this coming at all. Tyrena is the one who ends up being eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I wasn't prepared. I was truly shocked. And you could see the circle as well. A lot of people were shocked too, even though they were painting her as Dice. I just didn't think it was going to be, we're going to go for Dice because that's who we think it is. But you see the reactions of when the handle is revealed. And that is what I was so excited for, because Xavier goes, oh my God, Truck? Like, no one was talking about Truck's handle ever.
At all. No, nobody was discussing it. And like I actually went into episode 4. I thought Tyrena was going to be the Anonymous.
I was hoping.
I really thought that was going to happen. And then when they revealed that Tyrena was the one who was gone, I was like, what? Like I just didn't see that happening. And just like you were saying, like they revealed that she was Truck, and everybody had that similar reaction, like, wow, Dice is still in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like that realization that like that scumbag Dice.
Even better is they think they're going to be able to reevaluate and talk to the same handles again, and they're not. So now it's even harder to figure out because everyone can replay what they want to do. It's done. It's over. You're not going to see those handles again. Well, you could if they change the handles. They might go back and you pick a different one, but that's aside the point. The point is now Robbie, this fits Robbie really well, because I think people would have gone back and said, I think Robbie's now Dice, but now the handle's changed. So it really helps Robbie's game, I think.
Yeah, no, Robbie was definitely given a lifeline here. But right before we get to the handle refresh, we get Jack, Chris, and Xavier, and they're chatting, and Jack brings up that Nina kind of resembles a very, very infamous and famous Survivor player. Xavier's like, oh my God. And
because you finally see it.
Yeah. Like once you get that, and once you have that put into your brain, he's like, that's her. That's definitely her. And then Chris obviously is like, who's that?
That makes it even better, because Chris is like, wait, who's the person? Do we know this?
Who is this?
It's so good.
Why are we scared? I don't know why we're scared.
Yes, like what are we talking about?
Xavier's like Sandra Diaz-Twine. She's like one of the greatest Survivor players that ever played. She's won 2 seasons of Survivor. She's one of the only 2 people in the world to do it. And Chris is like, oh. and Chris is like putting that together as well. So and Nina was supposed to be in their fold, in their 5. So Jack is like, I don't want to spook Nina. Let's keep it to our chest. Let's keep it between us. And let's keep Nina close to the team. So it's kind of like that, like keep our friends close, keep our enemies closer thing. And so now that he knows this about Nina, he's like, okay, I need to keep her close because she's the kind of person that I want on my team. He wants the big brainers, and that suits him because he's a championship board game player for Settlers.
Which is so interesting because people could go in completely different directions with it. Someone would say, I recognize this person. I want him out immediately. He's going into it. All right, let's keep all the smarter people or the people that I feel closest to in the house with me, and then let it play out as it is. for I'm trying to think. Xavier, it makes sense for Nina to stay too. So for him, it makes sense. For Jack, it makes sense. Chris, I think, is just like whatever. He didn't seem to be phased out. He didn't care. He said, "Okay, fine." But it was the wow for me, which was great. I I think it's a smart move for the time being because you know that they are going to probably work with you if you get to them first. And right now, Jack knows that he's in Nina's corner, which is great for him.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's a good gameplay from or move, I should say, from Jack and Xavier in that matter. It's keep her close. Don't let her know that you know. Let her keep her secret. Keep it close to your chest until you need to pull out that card. And that's I think that they're doing it the right way. Uh,
Absolutely.
so we get into the handle refresh now. Initially, I was kind of upset that they were going to do a handle refresh. I was like, really, did they know that there were going to be handle refreshes ahead of time? I don't think they did. They're just
No,
like,
they looked too
yeah,
shocked. They looked way
yeah,
too shocked for it.
exactly. So like, to me it feels like production shenanigans. It's like, oh well, people kind of know who Robbie is and we like Robbie, so why don't we refresh the handles now? Oh, it's a handle refresh. Like, to me that looks like production shenanigans, and that makes me feel like, the integrity of the show is a little bit off, or the integrity of the game is a little bit off, and I don't like that.
What do you find? So obviously, we're both big Survivor fans here.
Mhm.
What is the difference you think when they do a tribe swap versus doing this with having them get new handles? Because you could argue that for a tribe swap, oh, we're going to do a tribe swap because this person's on the bottom of that tribe and we want them to stay.
Yeah, let's not get into what my thoughts on production shenanigans are with some of Survivor stuff, but uh, like the first time that they did it in Survivor Africa, like I was I was young. Like I'm an OG Survivor fan. I was watching since
Yep.
season one. But when they started, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that. But I was young and I was dumb and I was stupid. But once that precedent had been set, like that there can be a tribe swap, I have been fine with it. I am fine with you doing just about anything in a game, provided that the players know that it's possible to occur. If that
I
makes sense.
guess I guess they can just say anything's possible so it covers their ass completely. But again, I get it. It's interesting to watch for me because I wasn't expecting it. And so I like to be shocked when I'm a viewer because it had kept going, stay on the handle, no new people. Maybe it becomes a little bit predictable because people are figuring out who other people are because they had so much time to analyze it.
Mhm.
I will say though, the new people coming in, I don't know how I felt about that component. The handle thing, totally fine with me. The new ones, my question being is I'm assuming that they were probably sequestered somewhere. What information are those people getting when they are getting popped into the game? Is their only knowledge you're just coming into the game and not given any information? Because they are too at a disadvantage.
Mhm.
It goes both ways. They're at a disadvantage because they don't know how people interact. They don't know how people talk. Yes, they get the 1 week of safety, but they don't have those inner relationships. So I just think you really don't have a shot. I don't think any one of those three is going to win this game. I That's just me
I would
personally.
hope that they don't win this game,
Right.
regardless of how I feel about those people. I have, I like Wayne. I'm fine with him. I Beastma, she seems more than adequate to be able to play this game. Victoria, I mean, like, she's basically Sydney 2.0. So, uh, like, that's unfortunate for her that that's going to be the edit that she's going to get. But like, I feel like the first three episodes of the game, or the first three episodes of the show, are moot if the three of them, if one of the three of them win. Like,
Right.
like their journey, like it. Basically, it's a 15-player game that they got to skip the first three eliminations for, and I don't like that.
And I'm bummed for someone such as Tyrina, who we really did enjoy on the show. She just got a terrible shake, and then these three get to come in, and she's one of the people that is being replaced. Me, as one of those players being replaced, I would take a step back and say, wow, was not expecting that. I feel as though I didn't get a fair shake. You got the fair shake in playing games. So yes, you did get a fair shake. It was equal when you're in, but then those 3 then being added to the cast after that is a lot.
Yeah, no, I just don't. I think it jeopardizes the integrity of the game. I think that it's not fair to the people who've been playing since day one. And you could talk about fairness and life isn't fair and all that stuff, but like when it comes to a game, when you come to a table, like if you're going to play a game of Monopoly, everybody starts with the same amount of money. Nobody gets to buy in to the game after you've already bankrupted 2 people.
You're completely spot on with that. Great example. And it's the same thing that we see in some of these reality TV shows. For instance, the love shows. They bring in new people because you're bringing in exes, X on the beach, for example. Of course, someone's going to come in late because they're replacing somebody else, or the purpose of the show is to bring in another X for somebody. So it's just the concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I just think that it's a poor decision from that's the production not knowing what the show is just yet. Like it is a social game that is being played for $100,000. It is not a dating game for Chris. like that's my opinion. I'll die on that hill. Like they didn't need to bring Victoria in. I'm sure she's a wonderful person, but they didn't, because Sydney was voted out. I don't know how you say it. Eliminated in the first week. Yeah, eliminated in the first week. Like, oh man, we need Chris to like really have the hots for somebody. We need to see some sort of showmance going. Well, we had this other girl that was in casting. Why don't we bring her in? Like that's what I
want to know. I want to ask them, were they completely sequestered, or how did it work for them entering into the game? So hopefully we'll get that information from somebody.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't watch dating shows. I don't like dating shows. I prefer my my games. I'm a gamer. And I just don't like it when the two mix. I don't think that they belong together. I don't think dating is a game, and I don't think that they should really be intermingled like that. But anyway, I've let I've gotten on my podium and I've stomped a little bit.
You always have to have one of those. We have it all the time. Don't you worry. All the time.
But yeah, no. So the people pick their new handles, and I feel like some ways about this. I'm so glad that somebody picked the flamingo. Jack, you have my heart now, along with Andy, just because you picked flamingo. Nina picked fire, and I had opinions about that.
I do too.
Yeah,
I'm right there with you. I feel like they're the same opinion for sure, because
you're tipping your hat a little bit, Fire represents life. Your mother is the legend of survivor. Like, I think that was a poor move on Nina's part, because if anybody was even iffy about it, that could be used as a confirmation. Like to think you're like, oh, fire. Oh, well, fire. Like maybe that could be her. That's too much of a link. Similar to Robbie and Dice. If somebody had thought, or somebody had suspicions that Robbie was a poker player, like you gotta be fully removed from who you are as a person to when you pick that handle, I think. Unless you're playing some sort of like double Dutch or whatever.
Right. What I do think would have been brilliant is someone such as Jack maybe picking the fire, somebody else that has the suspicion out there, because then it makes it clear cut. But no one mentioned it. No one said, oh, fire, Nina, potential. We never heard that. So I'm interested to see how that goes as the progression of it.
And it might end up being nothing, but I mean, it's something that you and I definitely have opinions about. The viewers definitely have an opinion about. A couple of the picks that I really did like, I love that Andy picked lightning. He goes from butterfly to lightning, and I thought that was a great transition. And I like Andy's philosophy, and it seems like this is what it is that he's playing the anonymous portion of the game as if he has the personality of the avatar he chose. And I like that. I like that idea, because you're trying to remove yourself from the avatar. It's like you're acting. It's like you're playing a part.
Right. And you see lightning is so bold this go around, whereas butterfly was not that bold. Butterfly took a step back, was super reserved. And that's what I was talking about earlier on, just seeing how people learn from their last handle and what they were going to do to make it different on this handle. Some people changed and some people did not.
Yeah, and Andy's making other mistakes in that he
Yes.
doesn't realize at this point. But I love the adaptation of gameplay. I think it's great. Xavier chooses scissors, an innocuous choice, good choice. Marcel picks snake.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I wouldn't pick anything that's controversial because we saw that with shark. When Casey had shark, ooh, that's just making a statement, in my opinion. But I also think I could say the same thing about lightning. Lightning makes a little bit of a statement, but again, Andy kind of gives more of a reasoning for me on why that is chosen, because that is what he's specifically playing. Marcel also previously was the money sign. So I just think his are way out there.
Yeah, I think I think his personality of being a gamer is showing in the avatars that he's choosing. And I don't know how that's going to play out, but I definitely see it as a red flag. Chris picks lipstick. I mean, it's Chris.
Yes.
That's Chris. Lily goes with robot, an innocuous pick. I think that was fine. Dylan picks popsicle. I'm not upset with it, but I can see some thoughts with popsicle. It's fun, like Dylan's personality. And Robbie goes with rocket. I think that's fine too. I don't have any opinions one way or another about it. But then they're going to anonymous mode, and there are 12 handles. And this is where they start to drop the bomb. And then we've discussed this ad nauseum, and I'm sure we will even more right now.
Yeah, we've been there.
But yeah, no, it's just like what I loved is Dylan, when Dylan was reacting to this, he's like, and he's going nuts, he's going wild. He's like, my doctor told me to count to 10. My doctor told me to count to 10. I was dying. I thought he was just absolute gold on the screen. That man can be in any show that I watch. Any day or night. I adore Dylan and everything that he does. He deserves an Emmy or whatever the equivalent of that is.
Nice. We haven't seen him before. I'm shocked.
Yeah.
He's such a steal. I'm surprised he has not been on a show prior to this.
I don't know if it's the first, like, this is going to be something that I would love to be able to ask him. It was like, is this the first show that he's ever applied for?
Right.
Has he been applying to other shows? Because I could see him doing just about anything and being successful. Like, he is casting gold.
Big Brother. He's the one I could see jumping right into Big Brother.
Absolutely. And since USA, I believe, is part of the NBC Universal family, is this something that we could quite possibly see him on the Traders?
Yeah. You
like,
don't know.
I would love it. I'd fully support. Stamp. Get him on the Traders. Season 4, Dillian. He's phenomenal. I don't know if he'll do well, but he'll be entertaining.
You don't need everyone to do well on that one. You still have to have people that are there for the entertainment purposes.
Absolutely. And he brings it in every scene that he is on the screen. He is gold. But yeah, no. So we now have 12 handles, and we have 3 new players to discuss. Isn't that fun? 3 new players that didn't play for the first 3 days of the game, who got to bypass and take a warp zone to the second half of the game. Nothing against them as people. It's not your fault that production decided to make horrible decisions.
There's 2 of them I would have been fine with seeing at the beginning of the game. You could put 14 in, and I would have loved it. I like both of them. And Victoria's fine too. But again, the other 2, I can tell are going to be able to play some. They have a good mindset of the game.
Yeah. So Bisma is a political lobbyist. She's got a great head on her shoulders. She's definitely used to the deceit and the underhanded backdoor shady dealings of politics. And so she'll be playing as the Eagle. Which is funny because she's in American politics. I thought that was a little bit on the nose. Then we have Wayne, which Wayne, to me, is the most inconspicuous undercover policeman detective from Las Vegas. I never would have thought that that's what that man did,
No,
which is why he was probably really good at it. But yeah, no, he used to work undercover online and as a police detective. So he has more experience than anybody that is playing this game and doing what he is doing right now.
this is the
Uh,
perfect game for him. But that's again why I was saying I would have rather have seen him at the beginning of the
mhm,
season because it would have been he. I think if he starts at the beginning of this game, and obviously we don't know what's going to happen from here on out, I think he's could probably be in Jack territory just of knowledge alone and how to communicate and how to observe.
mhm.
I'm so bummed. I hope he does well. I just like I said, I don't want any of the three that came in late to win, and that's my opinion. And you feel the same way too. They could play a really great game, but I'm almost like it gives me Edge of Extinction
And I'm
vibes from
just
Survivor.
right there with you. It's fast forwarding to the end of the game, and I wish they were given a fair shake from a viewer's standpoint. You know, like I wish both of them were in from day one. It's
Yeah.
so stupid, and they're doing it for shock factor. Then, and I don't know if they're doing it for that or if they're doing it just because they wanted Chris to have another person to flirt with, and they were like, "Well, we had these other two alternates. Let's get them too." Like, was this something that was decided on day one that these three people were going to come in, or was this a decision that was made on the fly because they didn't like the way the game was going?
I'm assuming that you have to have the entire game mapped out before you start it. But again, we don't know. We're not behind the scenes, so I don't know how the inner workings of this game is. And that's something I'm very interested to ask someone that was on the cast the information regarding this entire
Mhm.
situation because it changes my mindset of it. As I said, I really wish it would have just started with one cast. But now that I know for the future, I guarantee this is going to have a season two. I would
Mhm.
be shocked if it didn't. Now you know going into the game, as you said, more people could show up whenever, and that's
Yeah.
just the format of the game. And that's how it's going to be.
Well, they did something similar in the Trader season two when they brought Kate back. Now, I didn't like it when they did that either, but there was a reason for it. It seemed because I can't remember his name right now, but he quit. The
Yes.
boxer, yes.
Yeah.
So when he quit, they left it left a an incorrect number of players, and so I can understand why they would bring somebody from outside of the house. Like to me, that makes a little bit of sense. But to just have three people waiting on the sidelines for the first three eliminations to come in and play, come on.
If I'm them, I'm pissed though because I want to play
Yeah.
the game. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? I don't want to sit out. You put me on the cast for a reason. I want it in at the
Yeah.
beginning so I get an opportunity to play. Because think about it. What I think is going to happen? So they get the 1 week of safety. I'm concerned then one of them is probably going to go out, which again is fine with me if one of them does.
Yeah.
However, they didn't really get an opportunity to play because they were thrown into the wolves and don't have a complete chance or shot at the
Mhm.
game, if you will.
Yeah. No, it would be infuriating to me. Like, can you imagine if you were cast on this show and they were like, you know what? The game is starting, but you're not playing. I'd be like, what the fuck? Why am I just like put me in, coach? Put me in. I want to
I know.
play.
That's how I would feel. You make it that far and then you don't even get to be a starter. You're a
Yeah.
reserve.
Yeah. What is this? I don't know what we're watching. We're watching The Anonymous. It's on USA Networks at 11 p.m. on Mondays. Um, and on Peacock the following week because we have to wait a whole week to watch it on Peacock. Decisions. I have feelings. Anyway. So then the third person is Victoria. So
Yes.
Victoria is a travel blogger, and she's playing as the cactus. I'm sure she's a wonderful person. I am just a very fun person. She wants to use flirting, and I made a note here. I'm like, okay, so Sydney 2.0, and
Exactly.
that was my note. And then apparently Xavier felt the same way because he says it like 15 minutes later in the episode that she's Sydney 2.0. So this is just like Victoria is not being given a fair shake to be a personality on the show. She will always be compared to Sydney. And that's not fair to Victoria as a human being, I don't think.
Right. That's her. That's what the edit is going to be because they forced it into that. Now, yes, it's up to her what her strategy is, and that is flirting for her. But I don't think she wanted that to be the storyline. She doesn't know the storyline prior to that there was somebody else that was in the house with them that happened to be eliminated already. She doesn't know that walking in. She's doing her confessional and saying that's what her strategy is, but she doesn't know the backstory because I'm sure they have not been able to go over that information yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like everybody's still trying to reel with what's going on in the game, and then these 3 new players are just trying to get acclimated even to the whereabouts of their surroundings. You know, like they're still trying to get introduced to people while these people are still trying to figure out like the past 3 days worth of events. Right. And Dylan, God bless his heart, decides to take them under his wing and show them around while everybody else just goes inside and starts conspiring and actually doing gameplay. While Dylan, like I said, lovable man, takes the initiative to try to make these new people feel at home, you know, and that they are welcome and that they can be a part of this. And I love that. And I love that for them, that someone was willing to do that and not just kick them out to the curb and giving them an opportunity to get to know people and get into the game.
Dylan to be my tour guide. Please, Dylan.
God, please take me everywhere. I'll go to the Alamo with you. It'll be wonderful.
Everywhere. My own personal tour guide, wherever you want to go.
And the less facts you say, the better. I don't want any history whatsoever. I want you to make it up on the spot. Please.
Oh, it's perfect. Brilliant.
Oh, you'd be so good at it. All right. So Chris thinks Victoria's hot. Big fucking surprise there. like Chris. And like I couldn't have written that any plainer. Like, as soon as I saw her, I was like, okay, that's Chris's new fetch, you know? So, and he did not disappoint.
No. I mean, Chris is playing the exact role which I think casting was picking him for. He's spot on amazing. I really enjoy Chris because of the comments that he makes and just, you know, that it's going to stay on the train of the ladies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, sexy surfer bro. He does his thing. So Beastma is she's hiding her occupation as a lobbyist. She says, I'm in real estate. Which I don't know. I mean, that's better.
Right.
You could have picked something else, but okay. And I mean, like Wayne, I think knocked it out of the park. He said he's a janitor.
That was perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm just and he looks like a janitor. And I don't mean that to be disparaging towards janitors, but he just doesn't look like a main character. Like he looks like a secondary character and in like the game of life, which is why he's so perfect for this game. He doesn't have that look that he wants to be the center of attention. He can be a wallflower and he can just listen. Which in all of these games, that's probably the most important skill set to have, is that you need to be able to listen to other people. And I think he knows that.
Calm, cool, and collected. I don't think he's going to get in arguments with anybody. He's just going to stay the course, play his game, and do him. I think he's awesome to have.
Yep. Yeah. No, he's definitely a boon to the show. Victoria, well, lucky for Chris, Victoria thinks, damn, he's fine. So, Chris, you got a shot. Chris, Andy, and Victoria are chatting at the bar. There's a little bit of flirting between Victoria and Chris.
Andy looks so uncomfortable.
I think, I don't care who you put there, but Andy was the perfect person to be there for that.
Yes. He's standing there and minding his own business, but at the same time, why am I in this conversation? Why am I part of this?
It's like shouldn't you guys be talking like amongst yourselves, you know? But yeah, no. Andy's taking one for the team there, you know.
Oh yeah.
So the next morning, Jack and Chris are whispering. They're doing like a little. They're standing there shirtless with their buff bods all over the place, and Chris is starting to get frustrated with Dylan because he doesn't contribute to the prize fund. Is that a? There's got to be more to that because Andy wasn't really contributing to the prize fund either, and Chris wasn't saying much. So there's got to be some other tension there, and I would love to be able to pick their brains as to why Chris is so gung ho about Dylan right now. Do you have any insight there?
I feel as though we're missing a little bit of context and coverage because they decided to put it on other parts in the edit. The other thing is to really think about it alone. The only opportunities where you were basically playing as a single person contributing to the prize fund was when they were tossing the balls in, and that was super obvious who did well and who did not do well.
Mhm.
And then you're also the memory. Think about it. Rewind. Who went first? Andy was the first person to go. I forget where Dylan went in that lineup. I do not know, but I don't think it was in a bad spot. I don't know if he got money, but if he didn't get money, he was one of the later people then.
Yeah.
Because you saw boom, 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 money, money, money. And then we got to, I believe,
It was like
7 or 8. And that's where the money was off.
Stopped. Yeah,
Now,
and
if you put-
Marcel was the one who missed it, and then he felt terrible.
Right. And if you put Andy in that spot, Andy's not going to remember
No.
that. There's no way. No shot.
The only person who is Robbie.
Yeah.
And look what happened to her.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, no. So I don't know what Chris's deal is with Dylan. It seems like there's definitely a heck of a lot more going on than what we're being shown. We do get a little bit more flirting between Chris and Victoria, and Jack is like, it's a little bit of a liability to keep both of them in this game. Seems like it's gonna be Sydney 2.0 again. So then Danny comes on.
$100,000. I'm just putting it out there. $100,000. I don't need to go on a show to meet somebody. I am there solely for the money. If you have interest in somebody, speak to them after the show is over. But I am there strictly to win that money.
You have a ton of other shows that you can go on if you want to go meet a girl. They make those shows. Did they pull you from casting from like a different show and then said, hey, do this one and meet someone here? Like, I don't know. Like, did Chris even apply to be on the Anonymous? Or was he trying out for another show and they just pulled him from a different casting pool?
They do that with specific shows. Yeah, they do it all the time, which they think you're more fitting for that specific show, so they'll put you on it. But again, I'm interested to know what he originally applied for. Did he actually apply for the Anonymous? Because if he did, still a great casting choice. Still awesome. But I want to know where you specifically came from.
Yeah, no. Great casting choice from USA Network. Absolutely. Questionable decision of show to go on if you're Chris. Like, Chris should have been on Love Island. Like,
but maybe he's playing this one knowing if people see me, my opportunity upticks where I can then get asked to be on another show. You see it all the time nowadays. A lot of the time it used to be one and done with a specific show. Now everyone's all crazy across the board.
Yeah, because now everybody's franchised, you know? Anyway, so Danny comes on and reveals that Wayne, Bisma, and Victoria are safe for the first elimination.
Yes.
Okay, so they get immunity for their first round. Very similar to almost every other gameplay whenever they bring in new people. It's kind of expected that you'll be safe from elimination from the first round. And I understand that it allows them to get acclimated, and that makes sense. But they're going to be the team captains. Here's where the twist comes in. They're going to be the team captain. They're going to be the team captains for today's challenge. I never knew that was a tongue twister until right now. The winning captain is going to choose one person from their team to become safe. Interesting dynamic.
That's a tough spot. I just want to finish and get the money if I'm the team captain, because then people are thinking, oh, you like this person better than me, which you do see in this very challenge. And we'll get to that at the end because that's exactly what happens. And I want to get the $3,000, but I don't want to win if I'm the team captain. If I'm everybody else, I of course want to win because then maybe I have a slight chance to become safe. And this is where I will give Victoria credit for not picking Christopher. She was going with the smart pick, which I do believe Robbie's a great choice as a first pick.
Yeah. No, I didn't. So prior to this point, everybody's been telling Victoria, Robbie's one to look out for. Like she's a lot smarter than she looks. And because of that, and because of Victoria's own intuition as well, she sees the value that Robbie would bring to a team.
Yes.
So yeah, that ends up being her first pick. But if I remember correctly, I think it was Bisma picked first.
Yes.
Yeah. And she goes with Jack, then Robbie, then Xavier. Xavier goes to Wayne's team. And then basically the teams end up as the yellow team, which is Victoria's team, is Robbie, Marcel, and Dylan. Wayne's team, which is the purple team, is going to be Xavier, Nina, and Andy. And Bisma's team is going to be Jack, Chris, and Lily. Lily makes a comment that she really, really feels as though she needs to win immunity for this round. So if her team wins and she doesn't get given that immunity, she's going to feel a certain way about it. Chris is pitching his game super hard to Victoria that, like, yes, I'm going to need it. Wayne says that he wants to lay low. He doesn't want to have to make these types of decisions. He doesn't want to be in the spotlight at all, which I think is a good gameplay from Wayne.
Yes.
And yeah, we discussed that actually it was Andy who tells the new players that Robbie, watch out for her. She's a smart girl.
I love Andy's insight. So good.
But he's got it on lockdown. And there was a scene where he was talking about, I think it was Andy who was talking, it might have been somebody else, but they were talking about the relationship between Victoria and Chris. And they cut to a scene where Chris is doing kettlebell swings behind Victoria, who is doing ball plank crunches, and it just is so suggestive. I don't know
the
how
editing.
That was peak.
They have to be sitting there in the editing room going, "This is the moment.
This is the moment.
We're gonna slot it right in.
Use this." It was great. It was hilarious. Dylan is starting to pick up that Chris is not his ally and is not working with him anymore. So he's starting to get away. He's like Chris is talking to everybody else, but Chris isn't really talking to me all that much. So very intuitive on his part. Good gameplay. Kudos to Dylan. Jack is working on building relationships with Bisma. I think that's a smart move on his part. And Nina is considering leaking the information because both Chris and Dylan both go to Nina and tell them that they're starting to have a little bit of turmoil between the two of them. Nina wants to keep that information to herself, but she wants to leak it. But she doesn't want anyone to know that she's the one that's leaking it. So it could take the target off of her back. Does she have a target on her back at this point? I don't think so. But any chaos is good chaos, right?
See her survivor capabilities coming out because that's what they do a lot of the time on that show. You want to plant the seeds. You have information from both people, kind of. So then you want to say something to somebody else. But if you say too much, it can get back that you're the one that leaked it. So you have to be super careful. But I think she was set up to play this well because she's done it before. Mm-hmm. And that is what experience does in these games. You've played these type of games before. We're not necessarily, it's still a voting out game. It still has a lot of the same similarities, but also differences. And she knows the moment, the timing. I think it also matters to the specific people it is between, because Christopher and Dylan aren't going to speak to each other strategically at all. It's not going to happen anymore. Yeah. But sometimes some people can overlook and come back to that person and say, well, I heard it from this person. They're trying to spread a little bit, and I think they're making us pitted against each other, but those two are never going to work it out. So it works brilliantly on Nina's part.
Yeah, it's a strategy that was employed. I think the first time that I remember seeing it in reality games was Australian Outback, like Survivor Australian Outback with Jeff, who will not be named, literally walking away from the Kimmy and Alicia pot that he stirred. And since then, that has been a staple gameplay of most, like that moment where I will always wave my finger in your face. That argument, which was stowed by somebody else that wasn't even in the scene when the argument went down, that's the type of gameplay that you're talking about, where you can sow that discourse between two people, and everybody's pointing at each other, but nobody's looking at you.
Yeah, if the heat doesn't fall on you, you played it great.
Mhm.
If some people are questionable about it, there are certain people that can pull this move off. Nina is specifically one of those. There's other people that are on this show that I could not see them pulling it off. Just there's no chance.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't see Chris being able to pull off a move like that.
I was trying not to say that because I was
Chris has moves. I think Chris has moves. I just don't know if that's one of them. But hey, listen, we're here to have opinions. So speaking of Chris being upset, Chris is upset that Victoria didn't pick him first.
Yes, I was waiting on that. That's why I kind of liked what she did, because it's showing to me that she's playing the game for herself. I think she's playing the game more for herself than he is, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, no, Chris. I mean, we've talked ad nauseum about Chris's motivations and intentions, but yeah, no, he's definitely in this to either white knight for somebody, which I think that's very possible that he could be white knighting for Victoria, depending on how the rest of the season plays out. So I'll give you the lowdown on this new puzzle. This was interesting. This is a nice little variation. Yeah, it's a nice little variation on the generic puzzle that we always get. It was a 3-dimensional puzzle that was in the shape of the house that the players are living in. And it's there are various weights that are associated with each puzzle piece. So, I mean, we don't know how heavy these things are. They could be 5 pounds, 6 pounds, 7 pounds, 10 pounds, but in order to solve the puzzle correctly, it can be solved correctly in a number of ways. But the only way that it is 100% correct and valid to win the $3,000 is if it weighs exactly 160 pounds.
This is where we see Jack showing, I think, a little bit too much of the brain, because Jack knew immediately when they were struggling what to change right away. He didn't even have to think about it. And it was interesting to see the group Robbie was with struggle, because on paper looking at it, I said, these teams are pretty evenly matched. But I was thinking Robbie was someone that was going to be able to jump right in and just take over and clean house on it. Because I think, as you said, every team there definitely had a weak link on their team, then also had strong people. I just figured she might have been the strongest person in this type of challenge.
And this is why I'm always a fan of when teams are created, that they should be drafted. It should not be random rock draws. It creates drama and it gives more even, balanced team mechanics.
I thought it was across the board. Yeah, you had one of the teams that didn't do as well as the other two, but it was very, very even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think on any given Sunday, either one of those teams could have won. Absolutely. But we end up with Bisma's team, the blue team, winning. And just to go to show that, the teams were relatively evenly matched, purple is right behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Like milliseconds. Like it was watching the 100-meter dash in the Olympics. Like they were that close.
They were.
Yeah. They were right on top of each other. And then, unfortunately, they just didn't complete it fast enough. So the purple team got second. And yellow comes in a distant third.
Mm-hmm.
But they still completed within the time limit. I was actually really curious for a while. I'm like, why the hell are we beating a timer? Why don't they just do it? And I was like, oh, because they have to do this winning a money thing. How do you feel about that? Do you think that these shows like the Traders and whatnot, do you think they should be winning money, or do you think that they should just be competing for safety?
I just think it adds another layer to it because again, that's where you see people's placements and moves because in the memory one, they drafted their order. They decided where they should go because people said, I'm confident that I can only do this many. And other people said, I'm going to take the risk and go towards the end because I'm not only earning safety for myself, but I'm also contributing to the prize pot. So I think it's a different layer. I like it. I don't mind it. I like that their challenges incorporated as well because I'm a challenge person myself. So it works for me.
Okay. I'm not as big of a challenge person that you are. I'm more of the social dynamics and how that gameplay works out. But I respect the purpose of challenges in these games. But I like there to be a little bit more at stake than just money for the communal pot. I would like to see either like, and they can't do it with this game because there's only one day, but like, a reward or something like that. I would like to see something that's more immediate, that's exclusionary for the other players. That is something that they're striving for in that moment. But it is what it is. This is how they designed the game, and we got to go with it. So
Ever incorporated different advantages into this game? I just, it could work where you could take away someone having the ability to vote or make a choice where it's, you know,
yeah, no,
anonymous on who stole whose, so that person doesn't get a vote, or you steal their vote and then you get to play two votes and vote for two different people, but you don't know which handle had the extra vote, and that's just an extra vote tacked on. I think that could be really interesting.
I would actually even be so bold as to say that I would like to see an advantage where they get to actually reveal one person's handle to somebody.
Ooh, because it's one of those things where it's I don't know if you know Secret Hitler, Secret Voldemort.
Yeah, yeah.
It's where you play that game and you have that as a card that you can pull, and you can then look at somebody and see what their card is. And so you're either lying about what their card is or you're telling the truth, and then you're trying to pin that person against everybody else and then making everyone's head spin. I like that. I do. I would like that.
Yeah, I would love to see a little bit more dynamics in that capacity, and then it makes sense when they do actually do a refresh on the handles, because that's an advantage that you can only have that's only temporary.
Right. So it's not going to be an entire factor within the game. It's a small factor, but it's an advantage. That's the point of an advantage.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that would be phenomenal. Anyway, so Beastma ends up choosing Jack to be safe, and unfortunately, this makes Lily cry because Lily has been targeted every night. Jack has never been targeted whatsoever. But Beastma doesn't really know this, unfortunately. But she's very sad and she's super pissed. Which, I mean, like, how pissed can you be at somebody that you only know them for one night? Right. Like, I get it because like your life in the game is 100% predicated on, well, let's say 60% predicated on whether or not you have this immunity because you have been targeted. Logic would say that you're going to be targeted again. But lo and behold, spoilers.
So here's my thing. It's not as though Lily was promised safety. It's a different thing if this person says, I will 100% give it to you because I know you've been targeted. She doesn't have all that intel, all that information. And for me, Lily, that's on her a little bit. She should have created that relationship. Jack made the relationship and he made it known that I'm going to try and help and give advice. She took it as, he's giving me something, a little bit of nugget here and there, so I'm going to give him something in return. Whereas Lily, we didn't see her doing that.
Yeah, no, it's a matter of building the relationship and building value to the other player. Beastma is a gamer. She is a cognitive person. She is cerebral. She's thinking of the game from a logical standpoint, and she's going to choose somebody who she needs to build a relationship with in order to progress further into the game. And Jack presented her that value. Lily is not presenting her that value.
Right.
I don't know if Lily had the opportunity to do that, but she wasn't able to do it, and that's on her, just like you said.
It's timing too, because as you said, they came in that night. So all of this is happening the next day. It's really hard to talk to that many different people if you're just coming into the game. So you really have to make the conversations count.
Yeah, and you pick and choose who you talk to, and you choose what the subjects of those conversations are. And there are conversations that you need to have, and there are conversations that you'd like to have. and knowing the value of what is what, if it's a need or a like, that's going to separate really good players from people who are a little bit weaker. And that's not to say that weak people or weaker players are like weak in general or anything like that. They can win. Wackadoodles win. Like that's
everyone has an opportunity. You're not out until you're out.
Yep. I actually think Lily actually has a path. So
I do too.
Yeah.
I really do. Yep.
I do.
I'm right there with you. She just had to get through the first couple rounds. And now I think she has a chance to find the footing. And she to me is a sleeper person in this game.
Yeah.
Because I don't think she's going anywhere anytime soon now because the target is so far off of her at this point.
Yeah, no, unless there's some sort of like a random like vote out or something like that. I'd like a stray bullet. I think Lily's in it for the long haul now. Having said that, she'll be out next week. So Jack, Xavier, and Nina are chatting. Jack is worried about the Chris Victoria situation, and this is when Xavier makes a comment about Sydney 2.0, and I feel vindicated. Jack theorizes that they could bring Victoria into the fold, but not really bring her in, just to placate Chris. Now, how do you feel about that? Do you think that's a good gameplay?
I think it's too many people. Mm-hmm. I think you tell Chris, hey, buddy, we have our group. Keep your mouth shut. You can hang out with Victoria, do whatever you need to do, but don't spoil the alliance. That's my biggest thing I'm concerned about. The purpose of Sydney going was then Christopher is now freed up. Christopher doesn't have anywhere else to go. He's part of my team. Because Christopher, to me, loyal. And that's someone that you want in your alliance.
He's loyal provided that he doesn't have someone that he can bang.
Sure. I mean, just putting it out there. Yes, very true.
Well, I mean, like, even Dylan says it later on. Anyway, Xavier in Confessional, he talks about how he thinks that Chris would say Victoria over him. I think that's very astute. I agree with that statement. Nina and Dillian are Dylan. Is it Dylan or Dillian?
Dylan.
It's just Dylan. Okay.
Dylan, yeah.
Okay, cool. Nina says Chris is worried about him. So this is when Nina kind of starts leaking the information, sowing discourse between Chris and Dylan. Dylan gets very emotional about this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, would you expect him not to?
No, and that's the thing. There are a decent amount of emotional players here in this game, and then there's people such as Xavier, Jack, Nina, non-emotional players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what makes a good cast. You got to have both sides of the coin, 100%.
Balance. Yeah.
It's like they've said before. It's like they're the grenade players, and you got to defuse the bombs or jump on the grenades. And grenades make great TV, so I'm totally here for it. So they go back into anonymous mode. Popsicle Dylan. This was a little bit of a. How would you describe it?
The whole anonymous mode?
Yeah.
People were firing shots quickly and early, which I loved. There was no sugarcoating it. Remember the first one they were in? I think someone said, how was everyone's day or something, just generic. This one, we are slapping it down. Let's get to moving. Let's get to talking, people. I want the tea. I want the information. That's how they all approached it.
Like you said, the contrast from the first one to the last one, the first one, whenever it was a little bit more cordial, it was a little bit more polite. But now, like, the gloves are off. But seeing the three new players' reaction to jumping into this, where like it's like walking onto a battlefield, and there are just oh my god, there's just bayonets flying all over the place, and there's like a hawk coming down. There's a guy missing his leg, and you're like, wow, I just left Walmart. Like it's like they had no idea what they were walking into, and I don't think anybody prepared them for it, because this has been the most explosive anonymous mode to date. So I don't even know if they knew that they were getting into that.
No, not even close. I mean, you have someone, Wayne, sitting there just trying to take it all in. which again is fine because he's really good at analyzing, I think. However, he doesn't even know what to say. And that's why he's approached it with, I'm not going to say anything because what am I going to contribute to the conversation? I really don't have enough information to put something on there. And then if he did share something and it missed, they could think, all right, it's got to be one of the 3 new people because they have not been in these before.
Exactly. So I think that lightning, our light bulb is 100% pegged as one of the 3 new people, which is why I think that he didn't get the anonymous. I think that my logic would be the 3 most quiet people in this are the 3 new people because they don't know what to expect. So I think that was a slight misplay on Wayne's part. But yeah, just recapping how we go. Popsicle Dylan says Robbie is going up for elimination. That's how it starts. Flamingo Jack comes in and he talks about the Chris Victoria couple. We got to target them. So Jack is still playing it the way he played it, and it's that he targets his own allies in anonymous mode.
Yes. I like it. I like it. It just throws them off because it gives you another opportunity where they're going to misplay and guess you for a handle that you're not, which gives you a bigger chance of getting the anonymous. And that's why we saw Jack got the first 2 anonymous.
Yeah. I'm even curious to know if he, like, what is the value if he just kept hounding on Andy and didn't care that the handles changed? Like,
yeah.
Like, if that was working for so long, they would have known that Flamingo was football,
right?
But they had no idea who football was.
Correct. So it doesn't help you per se.
No.
Yes, you know this person played that other handle probably, but you still had. I don't even think anyone associated Jack with football ever, especially not Andy, because Andy kept going around the house. Who the heck is football? Where's football? Why is football not like me? And it's so random because Jack said, I'm going in with this strategy and I'm going to play it out. And you played it out perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to pick Jack's brain to know what he's thinking in that moment and what he think would have happened if he did indeed stick with the gung ho Andy. Lightning Andy pops in. I think Chris should go. Andy just wants to be aggressive and ruthless as lightning. He wants to be a lightning bolt. And that comes back to bite him in the ass because it's like the lightning will strike. And Xavier's like, that's Andy.
That's an Andy line. He
doesn't know
so
it.
Hard.
He doesn't know it. He doesn't know that his dad puns just give him away. It's amazing. Cactus Victoria, she comments on Dylan's contributions to the pot. So she's starting to target Dylan a little bit. Talking about that. She's trying to deflect off of her and Chris. I understand that, but is that a good move? I don't know. Are you trying to? I don't know. I don't think so. And then Scissor Xavier comes in with a cold line delivery of neither has Andy. Boom.
That's it.
That's it. Period. Didn't say anything else. And God bless Andy. And Andy does what he does. So Scissor Xavier, shut up, Lightning, with your corny ass comments. Xavier is playing it so well.
He's so fun to have on a cast too. I really enjoy watching him play. But Andy doesn't think that his jokes are corny, and that's what makes it even better because they are. But I laugh because it's still funny.
And I laugh because it's Andy. And Andy is exactly what he's supposed to be. He is exactly what you signed up for when you bought the Andy drink. You know, it's a Long Island iced tea, and it's delicious, and it's going to get you fucked up, and that's Andy in a nutshell, so to speak. So Cactus Victoria then chimes in. She pivots, which is interesting here, because she was originally talking about Dylan's contributions, but then she changes her mind as to how she wants to play the cactus, and then she goes, "Chris tonight, Victoria tomorrow." So she's willing to throw Chris under the bus.
Right. And I do like that. Just
Mhm.
the consistency was my issue. I think if she would have led with that first, maybe that goes
Mhm.
another way. However, Rabia's Dice did something like that, and then you saw people going, that's something Robbie would say.
Mhm.
So it's really hard which one you do. You either drill somebody that's either yourself or somebody else that you're close to, or you kind of go and deviate to somebody else.
Yeah. So it ends up. Well, actually, we don't see the actual fruition of this, not yet, at least, because that's when they cut it, and anonymous mode is over. Then we get to the vote, and it ends up with 4 votes Chris, 3 votes Andy, 2 votes Nina, which was interesting. I think it was Lily and Chris both voted for Nina, which that came out of nowhere. And then we get some drums, some bombs dropping, with 2 people voting for Xavier.
Yeah. So
So
it's people catching on, I think, a little bit to what their game is, but at the same time, those people had the same mindset. I'm going to throw it here so people think maybe I'm this certain person or I'm putting a target on somebody else. Because as we said, the one vote does matter.
it
I didn't think
does.
we were going to get it 2 and 2. I thought maybe once I saw the Nina, I thought that was going to be the
Yeah.
only Nina.
Mhm.
But then when we saw it the second time, I said, wow, that's interesting because she's not mentioned at all. No one had mentioned it in the house, really. Let's target Nina, aside from people saying, Jack, that I recognize her. And then Xavier putting the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, what we're seeing now is we're seeing the coalition of 5, and they're kind of sticking with this Chris and Andy type thing. But then you have the people who are being targeted. So you have like Lily, you have Chris, you have, who else is it? It's Xavier. Oh, Beastma. Yeah, it was Beastma and Robbie. The 4 of them are starting to flip the script on the game because they're starting to target the people who they know are going to be threats. And I think we're going to see more and more of that as these episodes continue. I'm going to see a lot more
Absolutely.
targets drifting that way, especially since all you need to do is win the anonymous, and you can take out just about anybody you want in this game. Just
That's
about.
why I love it.
Yeah. So if it's just one slight mistake, and you're out of the house. But yeah, no, Lily wasn't voted. She was historic. She was ecstatic. It was so adorable to watch her like cheer. I don't know what she was doing. I think she was doing some twerking or something like that. But hey, you do you.
Now we're seeing more of Lily's personality, though. So
Yeah.
I think she's someone that had to warm up, and she's getting it now. She's given us some good facial expressions too, with the shock value. So
Mhm.
I don't dislike Lily at all. I think she's just a slow burner. Which slow burners you see it change in other shows. We talk about Survivor a decent amount here. They start off very poor. For example, a David Wright completely out of his element, and then he's all of a sudden in charge of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, Lily is going to have a nice coming of age story, I think, going forward. It's going to be cool. I'm excited to see. I would love to see her make it to like at least like the final 5.
I would as well.
Anyway, so then we get to what I have dubbed the aftermath. So Dylan, being Dylan, now knowing that he's safe, feels emboldened to speak his mind. And when Dylan speaks his mind, he speaks his mind. He comes out and he just goes off on Chris. What are you doing? You're whispering behind my back, talking shit. I'm real as fuck. And he is just dropping bombs on Chris. I say shit to your face. But then it starts getting even personal between Dylan and Chris. He's like, you're loud, you're not funny, you're annoying. And then turns to Victoria because he's saying this in front of like a whole bunch of people. He tells Victoria, the only reason you got thrown under the bus was because you're associated with him. He looked good. I hope you get some.
Just he was letting everything out. And my favorite part too was, if I'm the anonymous, you're going home.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Oh, he's like, so he goes into personal attacks. He goes into everything, just absolute exploding the entire room. And looks only get you so far in this game, and oh god, it was amazing. So many people just had this like shocked look on their face. They were like a little bit dismayed, like, oh my god, like he's really doing this in front of everybody. I and to be honest, I didn't even feel bad for anybody in that situation, just because it was Dylan, and Dylan is just he's worth his weight in gold or diamonds, either one.
And Lily's face, this is where I appreciate Lily too. This is for her out of nowhere. She's, where is this coming from? Because I have not seen this. And so
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, Lily, I don't think recognizes the little tips people have with each other. I don't think she can see that. But I want to be in the front row for that scene. Oh my goodness. You can't beat it.
No, it's absolute anarchy. And I love seeing stuff like this in any reality show, to be quite frank with you. But the way Dylan did it, peak performance. Shout out, tip of the hat. So then we get into the test, because that's all we see between the votes and the test, and that's all we needed to see. That was more than enough. So a couple notes that I made over during the test portion. Beastma views Xavier as a big threat. That was one of the big notes that I made there. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. She knows that he won Big Brother. Like, it's just like we were saying the other day. It's amazing that nobody is talking more about him and his prowess. Like, he's won one of the biggest shows out there, and no one was
Yes,
talking
and
about
one of, if not the most dominating alliance in history of Big Brother.
it. Absolutely, yeah, yeah. And Beastma pegs that, and she's, I think she's handling that correctly, especially since she's only handling it in anonymous mode. She's not directly attacking him. I have a couple questions here, and these are questions that I would love to know. Obviously, with 12 people in the house and nobody knows who anybody is, there's got to be more than one person who nobody gets right, right?
Right. I'm
How
wondering
do they
if
handle ties?
I'm wondering if it's a time factor. I don't know because they didn't specify that, because I guarantee at some point people are going to tie with who they
Yeah,
get correct or incorrect. So I'm interested to know. I think it could be a time element. I don't see any other reason how they would break the tie.
yeah. The only other thing I can think of is if two people had nobody get them right,
Hmm.
maybe the tiebreaker is how many people they did get right.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's
I
got to
w-
be really hard to calculate it.
yeah, I wonder if that's even put forward or in the actual rules that the contestants know.
That's a question I'm definitely going to ask so we can get
Yeah.
information on that.
Anyway, yeah, it's just some little gameplay nerdy stuff. Anyway, so not the anonymous. We know that it's not going to be Chris, Robbie, Nina, Beastma, Andy, Wayne, Marcel, Dylan, Xavier, or Lily. So it's either Jack or Victoria is going to be the anonymous.
So interesting. The thing is too, I think they show it for shock factor that's between these specific
Mhm,
people, but I have not watched episode 5 yet because we were just doing 3 and 4 today.
mhm.
I don't think Victoria gets it. I think that just leaves you on the bigger cliffhanger, because if Victoria did get it, then it would be fireworks.
Yeah, yeah, because then it's going to be like Chris will most likely be saved.
Yes.
Unless she's going to do it as a sacrificial lamb to get rid of him, because she knows that he's bad for her game.
Right.
Which respect, that would be a tip of the hat play, because I think that
Mhm.
would be the right play for her at that point. Like, yes, he's devoted to her, but he's putting a target on her. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best. Like she needs to be seen as an individual and not part of a pair in order to progress in this game anywhere further than, like, the next 3 votes.
Absolutely, I agree.
So we get the final at risk: Chris, Andy, Nina, Xavier, and Robbie. Andy, Xavier, and Nina are safe. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate you. And it's going to be either Robbie or Chris gone. Predictions. What do you think? Well, who do you think is so you think Jack is the anonymous?
For some reason, yes, just because Jack has been so good at reading it. But for television purposes, it would be a shock factor if it was Victoria. And so that's why you can edit it two different directions. Put her up there so we maybe think it's a possibility. But then if it is actually her, really good, could be. Now, with the two that are Christopher or Robbie, I don't want to lose either one of them. But that lineup, I didn't want to lose anybody in that lineup. That was the problem. Those are the 5 people where I go, oh, I do not want to lose any single person here because they just bring so much to the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that if it's Victoria, I think Robbie's gone.
Right.
I think that if it's Jack, I still think it might be Robbie.
I do as well, unless we've seen Jack before. Casey.
Yeah, just do something completely off the wall.
Casey with the 1 vote. That's what Jack did previously. So maybe a little bit more unpredictability because you have that sole choice yourself. I'm eliminating somebody. No one knows who it is. No one knows that I'm the anonymous. So I just think a lot can come into it once you actually do get that role.
Yeah. And I wonder how much time they have to make the decision too.
Very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. So there's so many different layers to this game because we don't know all that behind the scenes knowledge of how much the timing is, how everything becomes to be, how long are they down in anonymous mode. We don't know that either.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's not 15 minutes. It could be like an hour. It could be,
right.
It could be 2 hours. I don't even know that. I mean, that'll be all great questions that we can ask them, in the coming weeks. But yeah, no, I'm either way. I think we're losing, a great person, a great player. Chris is phenomenal entertainment. I think Robbie is a very strong player. Either way, I think it's going to be a loss for the show, but I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to see how people play off the shock factor of who does indeed get eliminated. So yeah, anything else to leave us on before I wrap us up?
I absolutely am adoring the cast. I think they're all phenomenal people. Regardless of what we say on this podcast, we are really excited to talk to some of you, or to all of you actually, and being able to meet you face to face someday maybe, and be able to give you a high five and call it a day.
Yes. So with that being said, I mentioned it in the middle of the podcast. Tyrina will be joining both Adrian and myself on Friday at 3:15 Eastern time. I'm really excited. She's very excited to get on. And then I know we're trying in the up and coming weeks to get some on for the recaps, individual interviews, but I am in touch with people that are on the cast, and I am super excited to pick their brains on their thought process through the season. And with that, make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast. And as always, we are delivering a ton of new content on the Reality After Show. So just keep on the lookout. We have the challenge going. We have Big Brother. We have the Anonymous Survivor starting up here real soon on the 18th. Everything is coming out. So we are not lacking content. But Adrian, again, thank you so much for joining me for today's coverage.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I always enjoy it. You're phenomenal company, and I appreciate you.
Always appreciate you. Take care, everyone.
Be well.